out that I'm trying to get out of this thing, actually.
That's
Yeah.
true. You get it on the record. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly, because all the other stuff supposedly isn't. So until like things actually start, so we'll leave it at that for now.
Okay.
Um, but what was I gonna say? Because I remember looking at. Oh, that's
Hmm.
right. I was looking at your Discharge Deep earlier, and I was blanking on what it was. But yes, Kenny Shane new album.
Oh yeah, it's good. I mean, the Red Sox fans out there would not like it very much.
He's a
It's a
Yankees.
very Yankee centric album. He grew up in White Plains, Westchester County area, just above the Bronx. So big Yankee fan.
Mm, ah,
A lot of Donald Sterling cuts. You got a Susie Waldman, right? That's the other
Susan.
announcer.
Yep, it's Susan Waldman and no Donald isn't no Donald
Not
Sterling.
Donald
Yeah,
Sterling.
that's not who that is.
John Sterling.
John Sterling. Yes, that's
Donald
exactly.
Sterling is the former Clippers owner, right?
Yep,
Yeah. Okay.
that is him. Not fair. You know what? In fairness, it's neat. I
That's
think
close.
from a name standpoint, it's an easy mix-up.
They're
Other
a
than
couple of
that,
old geezers.
they are both holds. That's for sure. I actually have trying to remember. I sat because when I was covering the Red Sox a few times, I definitely ate with them just because I was sitting with like other people and they
Oh
came
yeah.
over. Susan Waldman, like you know, people have like their radio voices and stuff. Those two pretty much sound like that. Susan Waldman, not as much, but like Sterling always has that voice going. It seems like
It's amazing. I remember. I'll never forget those back in like one of my first like intro to broadcast journalism classes at Hofstra. And there was this one kid who now is out in Texas. He was a sports anchor for some major Dallas Fort Worth area. Sports anchor out there, but he was out in Western Mass for a while, and he was always like really polished, one of these really polished kids, and you could tell every time that he spoke in class, he spoke with that announcer cadence, and just very like a clone of like a John Buck type, and just could never shake it.
Yeah, I
great voice though. I mean, he was great.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard like obviously you hear the voices that the guys do, but I never encountered somebody who always had the voice on until I went to the winter meetings one year, and there was this one guy who had it. This one kid, actually, I should say, and it was just very like, what is this? What are you doing? Yeah, we're not on right now. Like, are you trying to?
I find that the younger, fresh out of college types, maybe they were the executive producers of their college radio stations, and that's sort of like a big deal within their small fish. But in a way to kind of overcompensate for their maybe feeling inferior to the rest of the working world, they come out with that kind of like super polished and like professional kind of look.
I guess so. That
kind of like fit in a little bit more.
That would make sense. That makes sense. But like, I mean, like, yeah, it's still odd. Like when you hear that voice, like, are you trying to like try out every 5 seconds now? Is that what it is? I don't know.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yep. Excuse me. I'm ready to roll if you are.
The broadcast hardos, you got to love them.
Yeah. All right, I'm good.
You feeling good?
Need to get that out. Yeah, I was like one of those. You ever have that where like you feel one coming, but it just won't? Like you just need push. Yeah. Hate that.
That's good. Maybe it's a little thicker of a burp too. More than just some air.
That one had 3 C's on it for sure.
All right, we'll get going here in 3, 2, 1. When we're not subverting our dumbass parents to solve the town's ongoing serial killer crisis, we can be found communicating with the undead through light brights. I am Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the mind flayer to my demigorgon. It's Dr. Nicholas J. S. Fryer, Hellraiser for hire.
How the hell did I get promoted to doctor? When did that happen?
I don't know when that happened. Maybe that was something to do with Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's right. So I'm a doctor and a lawyer. I guess I'd be a lawyer doctor. I've been a lawyer longer, technically, and it's in the show's history. But how you doing, Wes?
Renaissance man. I'm doing great because, believe it or not, I'm doing great because after going through this marathon run that is Volume 1, Season 4 of Stranger Things, we're going to be doing an exit survey. So I wasn't really looking forward to it, but on the way out, I was happy. I was there for the ride. Like any long endurance run, you kind of hate going through the process, and then you're happy you went through it at the end.
That's okay. I think a little bit better about it than that, but at the same time, when we get
I liked it, but I will just never get over the length of it.
Well,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
I enjoy going through. It just felt like a drag,
Weren't a
knowing
few
that I have like 4 hours left of this show.
weren't there a few episodes that were longer than an hour too?
Yeah, I think everything was at least 60 minutes. Like, and they averaged around 70 minutes. The 7th episode was 98
It's
minutes.
wild.
We'll get into all of that though here
Okay.
because, well, of course, like I mentioned, we'll be doing an exit survey, and if you haven't watched it yet, I'm surprised it's been out on since May 27th, streaming on Netflix. But before we get to all of that, Nick, very important question for you.
Okay.
Are you a picky pooper?
You mean like where I do it?
Yes.
No.
Well, maybe just in general, but maybe that could be a part of it.
I wouldn't know how else you mean, to be quite honest with you.
Well, maybe I mean, of course, where, but how you poop, I don't know. Maybe you like to do a George Costanza, shut the lights off, take your shirt off. I don't know.
Oh well,
light a candle or read a magazine. What do you prefer to kind of set the mood?
No, I would say I'm not picky. Generally speaking, I'm trying to just get in and get out and get it done. But so no, I think in every sense, no, I'm not picky. Although I will share a horror story with you. There are certain instances where you
love a good poop horror story.
You can't go at certain places because it's just an absolute nightmare. I am not one of those people who can't go in public. There are definitely places that you'd rather not, or you may have to hover, something to that end. And I'll never forget this. We're playing at North Adams when I was playing for the Bay Sox, and oh god, they had regular bathrooms for women, and then they had porta potties for men. That was it. That was how it worked. And
yeah, sounds about right.
I have a pretty dull sense of smell, but definitely like when I can smell something, like it comes at me pretty hard. I went into one of these porta potties, Wes, and I'm not kidding you. I almost threw up from how bad it smelled, and I didn't even need to open the door the entire way. And I tried to like will myself, and then I opened it and I looked inside, and it was revolting.
The event porta potties are some of the worst places to be because if you are only pulling the trigger in the event of the emergency, and it's a murder scene every time, right?
Yep, 100%. Yep, and those are the instances where you hover. But I'll tell you, but like usually I can do that. Usually I'm fine. I couldn't even step in there. It was that bad. It was awful. Scarring. I can still kind of feel that like near throw up, like I gagged when that happened.
An unclean toilet, maybe at like a rest stop sort of thing is coming to mind. Where like if it's very visibly clogged or overflowing, obviously it's an unusable toilet at that point. Right. But won't go in those. But I pride myself on my ability to go anywhere. I'll slap down a few pieces of TP and just kind of drop trowel and go. Like I feel good about that. But if I'm home, I will sit and scroll on the phone. I will go on the YouTube and watch maybe a couple of Filipinos slapping together like a brick made oven. That's like in like a time lapse video real quick. Legs fall asleep all the time. Does that ever happen to you?
Yes, it happens to me way too often. Way too often. It's really annoying.
It's tough because the pins and needles really hurt. No, I'm right there with it. Because like usually it's like a poop in a shower. That's kind of generally what I'm doing there. So to stand up to get into the shower after my legs are asleep, the pins and needles with the hot water, it's not fun.
No, it's awful. I hate it. It happens to me way too often because there'll be times I just like sometimes I'm just in out good. I'm like one of the fastest shitters you'll ever meet, but at the same time, I'm like anybody else. I will take my time sometimes, and then I'll start feeling it on my legs, and it takes way too long to snap out of it once I get those pins and needles. But I'm curious, just to bring it back to the porta potties, do you have a ballpark for how old you were when you learned that little side thing in porta potties that was actually for peeing?
Oh, I always knew that.
I didn't.
Oh, yeah, that just looked like a urinal to me.
I don't think I knew till college that was it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What'd you think it was? Like a bidet?
I didn't know what the hell it was. I got to be honest. I was like, I honestly think I just thought, what the fuck is that? And then just didn't worry about it and peed in the other thing.
Oh yeah, it's great because you're gonna piss all over the seat anyway. Like for anyone who does have to sit down on that, like there's no aiming in a porta potty. That's a great invention in my estimation.
Yep, I tend to agree because you're probably right. I try to aim, but most people not happening.
No, and who knows? Maybe it's bumping around. Maybe you're buzzed up or something. Again, at like a festival, concert, something like that. Who knows? enough about our pooping habits, though. Although
Fine.
I would love, we could spend a whole hour talking about pooping habits
If
in
we
my
really wanted to
house.
do an episode on that, we'd have to bring in Koo, I think.
Oh, I think he would offer some good insights. Something tells me Mac. I don't know. Maybe I think he might know a thing or two about pooping.
I think we got a few guys in the
Dropping
DSG
some
who would.
heat.
Yes,
Yeah.
but Goo is one who tweets about it the most, I think.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good
Yeah.
point there. Yeah, the gut biome is not his friend right now. Speaking of friends or not so friends, Tim Allen and Chris Evans here. Lightyear released in theaters this past weekend, and earning 51 million at the domestic box office, earning number 2 on the weekend behind Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Dominion.
Nice, solid. Okay.
I think you should beat out Jurassic if this was a good movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if this is getting the I don't know.
I mean, I think that's. I don't know. I mean, I think that's fine. Like, I don't know. Coming into this, it felt like it was one of those movies where it's like, do we really need it? I could see this thing picking up steam afterwards because I'm curious if you knew this. I didn't. I was what?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Your note here, I think, is really interesting, but it kind of takes me out of it overall.
See, okay. So the note that I caught today was from the Lightyear Twitter account, and it said in 1995, Andy got a toy from his favorite movie. This is that movie. So like we kind of got like it's kind of like meta is what they're basically doing with this. And
Right.
I had zero clue that was the case. Did you know that till I pointed it out?
Once you saw it in there, now that we're kind of saying it out loud, like I feel like there might have been some mention of that kind of in the crevices of my brain, but it escaped it long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, like that's cool, I guess, but it just feels like again you're running out of ideas. To a degree, because like even the more meta reference, I saw a tweet of this, and it was like the Buzz Lightyear toy based off of the movie that was based off of the toy of a movie that and it just keeps going backwards and backwards, and now I twisted myself into a pretzel, but it was a pretty funny thing.
Yeah, I saw this one after I saw that same tweet that you were just referencing, and this kind of made it a little more succinct for me. And I didn't realize it was like actually a thing. I thought people were just kind of joking around and stuff like that. So to me, where I was like, I don't think I really care. I'm not going to see this. Like, why? Whatever. But now it's like, okay, well, this is the idea here is this is the actual movie Andy saw as a kid that inspired all of that stuff and the toy and whatnot. I mean, I could give that a shot. They're probably going to do it with Woody now too if this is successful enough.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even think it has to be successful. I'm pretty sure they probably already have some IP in the work for that. And have maybe I'll be interested in this if they get Chet Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, in there. Do a little Jamaican patois on Woody.
Get out of my face.
That would be great. But this brings up a greater question because of course, one of my favorite pop culture sites, The Ringer, had a whole Pixar week and a Pixar bracket talking about the best characters and all that stuff. So you have a favorite Pixar movie at all, Nick?
Well, my gut reaction is to say Toy Story.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the easily number one, especially for people in our demographic, our age.
Yep, absolutely. So that one's I'd say like right away that's my favorite. But Up, obviously, so good. Still, we watched it recently. Still awesome. Finding Nemo. I saw Encanto. I think it was. It came out fairly recently, so that was pretty well done. That was very well done, actually. What am I saying? And then Inside Out was another one too. That one's been a little while, but I saw that one recently. They have. I mean, I know you have another one that I'm not mentioning, but rewatched that recently, and that's obviously really good too. So
yeah, and Monsters Inc. is great. It's Toy Story with Monsters Inc. for me, and again, at a certain point, I just kind of outgrew the Pixar movies, and then at a certain point, you kind of come back to them at the same time. It's weird, I just didn't really watch them for a period. So like The Incredibles is cool, but I never watched Cars. I don't have kids yet or either, so like. Not all of that stuff really appeals to me, but the some of like when they start going more serious, that's when I start to kind of get away from it a little. The Inside Out, the feeling, and maybe this is just more Disney movies too, like the Soul. What is Coco? I did like Coco. I thought that was a good story.
Oh wait a minute, I'm saying Encanto, and it was Coco because Encanto actually was not Pixar, if I'm not mistaken. I'm getting those two mixed up. But I keep thinking Encanto is that, but Coco, yes, yeah, I'm with you on that one. That one would be on my list too. I like Inside Out. I think that's like I get what you're saying. It's definitely more serious. I think like that's something for kids though when you're talking about like was it emotional intelligence and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting concepts, but again, maybe I'll have another turnaround once kids come in the picture with all
Yeah.
that too.
Maybe. Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see how that would impact anybody. Cars 2 was I only saw that first Cars movie. My brother was like in that right age, so we saw that. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Oh yeah. Well, right age, coming of age. We have the early returns on Disney Plus's Miss Marvel. And though it's
mhm.
been well received critically to this point, I believe episode 3, As a Crow Flies, comes out this Wednesday. The show comes in with the lowest premiere for a live action Disney Plus show after the first 5 days of its release. This is coming from BingeWatchThis.com. So Loki is first with 2.5 million. That feels right.
Mm.
Just giving off the expectations and the excitement and just the popularity of that character. A little bit surprising here. Number tied for 2 is Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Moon Knight with 1.8 million. WandaVision at 1.6. I don't think people were as excited, didn't really know what to expect out of WandaVision. You get those black and white episodes, maybe a little bit lower there, not representative maybe of the whole series. Hawkeye at 1.5 million. A little bit surprising there too, because I thought that had a lot of kind of hype coming into it. And then Miss Marvel checking in below 1 million at 775,000 here. So, Nick, have you seen? Are you up to date with Miss Marvel, or
I'm not.
are we a part of the problem?
We are part of the problem. I haven't watched it yet. I've also been I've been
Hand up.
behind week to week on Obi-Wan Kenobi 2. I know you're not watching that, but I am.
Mhm.
But I still haven't watched the latest episode of that. I am caught up on The Boys, but I have every intention of watching this one because we're going to talk about it on the show. But I can see why this would be the one that would be on the bottom of the list. I mean, honestly, Wes, when I look at this order, I'm really not surprised by any of it because Loki had a ton of hype. It's a character everybody knows and has an opinion about. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, again, characters you're familiar with. Sam's going to become Captain America.
And there was a lot of action, kind of. Sorry to cut you off there, but there was a lot of action of like Top Gun type of vibe to it that I think we were anticipated off like previews and that sort of thing.
Yep, and then with Moon Knight, I think there was a ton of hype with that character going in, and that was the most recent one after Hawkeye too. And Hawkeye was obviously a huge hit. WandaVision, it's the first one. Makes sense that like you're gonna have people interested, but still a lot of people cautious. Hawkeye, my better half has not seen the Hawkeye show yet, and she'll absolutely love it whenever she decides to watch it. But like there are still people who it's like, oh, it's Hawkeye. Like, why do I really give a shit? So I can see how that happened too when you're just talking about those first 5 days. And then Miss Marvel is just a character like we already have Captain Marvel. You don't know this character all that well. Makes sense to me.
It's a newer character, right? So like probably the newest of all of the characters, titular characters that we had in this, right?
Lead characters, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so that's something that you want. Again, I'm part of that problem as well. I think I'll kind of wait to binge watch this. I think it's a little bit more easily digestible than what we just binge, or what I just binge, I should say, and Stranger Things 4. But you touched on it too. A lot of things going on right now. You mentioned The Boys, a couple other things. I just finished watching Barry season 3. A lot of good stuff that's out there right now.
Yeah, and then like personally, I know I've had a lot of stuff going on just because wedding time for my brother and all that kind of stuff. So
too.
Yeah, and then you mentioned it last week, like how you're upset all this stuff is coming out in the middle of summer. Not ideal timing, but anyways,
there's always time for comic books.
There is always time for comic books. So let's move over to that comic book minute. Thank you very much, my good man. So from Marvel this week, we got Punisher, War Journal, Blitz. Issue 1. Heard good things about this. Haven't read it yet. I will read it ahead of TLDR this week. Been reading that series. Really enjoying that so far. Then we have the new Fantastic Four issue 1, which is a thing that they did years ago. And I think it was the same cast of Hulk, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider. That's the same group that they were going to be. I think actually we're going to have, is it Weapon H here? Either way, those characters are going to be the ones that are in the mix. I'm actually excited for our Fantastic Four book, surprisingly. From Image, we got Noctera issue 11, Gunslinger Spawn issue 9, Radiant Red 4, Rogue Sun 5, New Burn 8. Ton of awesome stuff from them, from friends of the show too. A lot of those from people we've had on TLDR. Then we got the first issue of Beware the Eye of Odin, which maybe I'll get a look. but I'm not sure.
Okay.
The book I may be most excited about, though, we're talking about first issues, though, is Black Adam. Not because of the movie necessarily, not because of the character either, but because Christopher Priest is the writer on this series, and he's somebody who I've talked about quite a bit on TLDR. He wrote the Deathstroke Rebirth run. Haven't seen a whole lot from him since then, so I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with this character. I have a ton of faith in him as a writer, so can't wait to look at that. As for TLDR this week, for the first time in a while, we're doing a mainline episode. I'm going to be talking about an Image book, another Brubaker, Sean Phillips book. Joe's either going to be doing a Boom or an Image book. He has not. He hasn't decided yet to this point. But
okay,
yeah.
Got a little bit of time here, and I like the tease too. Maybe you have to tune in to find out which one. So.
Yes, I think it's always the right move for you guys to tune in to find out. And if it's Brubaker, though, it's going to. I'm talking about a good book because he is outstanding. But enough about all of that, Wes. It is time for. We're calling it an exit survey, but it's almost kind of like a midterm if you think about it.
It is. It's like a midterm review. I like that. That's probably a better way to put this here. And again, it maybe not even a midterm because we got like 3, 5, 6 of the whole show, right? But
that is also true.
Nevertheless, Volume 1, Season 4, Stranger Things. The synopsis here. Still reeling from the events of last year, the gang tries to move on with their lives. However, a threat is brewing both on Earth and the Upside Down.
All right, the cast and crew. This is going to be a lot. Everybody strap in. This was created by the Duffner brothers, starring Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolford, Gaten Matarazzo. That's Dustin, for those curious. Kaylin McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, Sadie Sink, Natalia Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Keery, Maya Hawk, Priya Ferguson, Brett Gelman, Matthew Modine, Jamie Campbell Bauer, Joseph Quinn, Nicola Jericho, and Robert England. I know people may think, why are you having trouble saying England? It's Englund.
I believe that's the same person who played Freddy Krueger. Now, I'm no horror specialist. Robert Englund, I believe. I think you had it right. But what I really enjoy is you second guessing yourself on even the easy names like Joseph Quinn at the end of it. You're like, Joseph Quinn?
Yeah. You're right about Freddy Krueger, but yes, I was like, no, I'm honestly, Wes, as I'm going through this, I'm trying to go fast, but also like trying to like catch my breath.
Yeah.
I know I talk fast usually, but it's one thing to talk fast. It's another thing to read fast. Not always fun. But anyways.
It's not that you talk fast. We just listen slow.
Oh, wow. That may be the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, this was also well received from the critics. This is a 8.7 on aggregate so far through 7 episodes, 8.7 out of 10 on IMDb with a rock solid 89-90 split on Rotten Tomatoes, coming with a critics consensus of darker and denser than its predecessors. Stranger Things' 4th chapter sets the stage for the show's final season in a typically binge-worthy fashion. Now, what I found confusing about that consensus review is that it says Stranger Things' 4th chapter sets the stage for the show's final season. Now, is the 4th chapter in reference to episode 4, Dear Billy, because they do this in chapters? Or are they calling like season 4 the chapter of the overall story of Stranger Things?
They're calling it the season. They're calling it the 4th season, the 4th chapter. But you're absolutely right. That is a little bit of laziness on their part.
They say final season in it too. Because that chapter 4, if you're going by the IMDb guide, outside of the massacre at Hawkins Lab, which is 9.6, the last episode that leaves you on the cliffhanger. Episode 4, Dear Billy, is their highest rated one by a mile. Everything else comes out at like right around 8.0, and that one's at like 9.5 out of 10. So that's a big kind of like revealing episode. Revelatory, I think it was kind of. So like I was very confused on what they were trying to say, or maybe they mean both. I don't know. I think
that they're using chapter and season synonymously here, and they just got lazy. Not like because like if this was The Boys, it wouldn't matter because they're just episodes. But in this case, you call the episodes chapters. Can't do that here.
Right? Yeah, I don't like that. As an editor, I don't appreciate that.
I think that's totally fair. Maybe everybody else disagrees with us, but we're not everybody's editors.
Yes, hit me with your score and your tweet length review and your best shot.
Okay. Well, we're doing this virtually, so I don't know if I can hit you with my best shot. But as for my score, I'm right there actually with the audience in this, but everybody's in pretty much close proximity here. I'm giving it a 90 out of 100. This is the best stuff we've gotten since the first season. That's without question. Everything in Hawkins in this series, in this season, excuse me, is top notch, but lulls come with some of the other stuff.
Yes, I agree. We are on the same block of Hawkins right here. I give it an 87 out of 100. I'll never forgive the Duffner brothers for thinking we needed all of this. But nevertheless, I enjoyed the majority of this fun thrill ride. It feels a little bit more adult, a little bit more grown up. And just quick side note, Steven and Dustin rock. They still rock.
They do. They're awesome. Yeah. You know what, Wes, I'm with you. Like, I didn't think I was very late to the Stranger Things game. Thought the first season was very good. Could understand where we're going to get more stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I can't remember if 2 was the really, really bad one or if it was 3, because 1 was obviously better than the other. But
3 was in the mall. 2 was like 11 going to New York and kind of, I think it was 8 or 9 that she was kind of dealing with, like another one of those.
Okay,
I
feel like it was 2 then that was worse, and 3 was better, but still not to the same level. This is absolutely on the same level as the first season. Like, the first one's still a little better, but this was on the same level.
I agree for a large portion of it. Again, there's too much fat on there. This is like a ribeye steak. You know, it has a lot of marbling on it that it could be nice for dressing, but I'm not sure if you need all of that.
Okay, I am curious to hear some of these things because obviously we're talking about length and there's quite a bit, but we'll get to that. Let's first talk about what will age the best from the this portion of season 4.
Yeah, everything in Hawkins. Again, I think this is, Hawkins was such a great, almost like its own character throughout the course of this story, through the 4 seasons and everything. So I think everything there, kind of keeping it a little bit more self-contained, works really well. The story strays when you start to stray outside of Hawkins. That's how I feel like. Whether you're getting Eleven's origin story with the rest of the subject, I've really enjoyed everything in that regards. The Steve, Dustin, Nancy, Max combination, I've really enjoyed that whole storyline and that group together kind of working and the dynamic they created. The new character there who I'm blanking on, who's Steve.
Eddie Munson?
No. Steve's plutonic girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. She's been around for a bit, and for blanking on her name. I'll get that for you in a second.
But she was also a cool addition, kind of worked nicely into the group as well. One being Vecna, total spoilers here too. I liked his origin story and how that kind of came to be and how they were able to kind of MCU it, kind of go back and kind of create these connective tissues and kind of make it all one connective story. So I thought that was well done.
But it was Robin that you were looking for.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, is that Robin or was that
Robin played by Maya Hawke?
Oh yeah, but
she's the friend. She's the one who worked at the ice cream shop with Steve.
Oh, I see. I thought that was 2 different characters. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Well, they brought her more to.
I was wondering, like, where's Maya Hawke in this whole series? But okay, never mind.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha.
Either way, that group was the best part of the whole show. Like for me, I did like the 11 stuff, but there were times where it was like, let's move this along. What is happening here? But the payoff in the end of it all was outstanding for sure. But yeah, when we got the Russia stuff was like, okay, this is fine. You're not giving us too much of it, but it's fine. The stuff though with we'll get to what aged the worst. Like I'll save the last group for that portion of our conversation. But we're talking about what will age the best. The addition of Eddie Munson, to me, this guy is awesome. You need this kind of guy in this kind of era for a story. I just thought he was like perfect amount of funny and like fake tough guy, but also kind of knows he's not tough when it comes down to it. So had a lot of fun with that, and then turning up like the graphic nature of the whole show. Oh my God. When I mean, the end of that first episode was like, what the fuck was that shit?
The opening of that first episode, right? When it comes in with all the killing and of the kids and everything like that.
Yep.
No, that's the end. That is the end of it, right?
That's the end. Yep.
See, everything's kind of blurring. I watched like the first episode and a half, like when it came out that weekend, and they kind of finished everything over this last week. So some of that kind of feels like episode or season 3 to me almost, because it feels like so long ago. But
when
I love Eddie Munson. I thought that was a great addition.
when you in that first episode though, like this whole show has been like, yeah, like there's some spookiness to it and everything, but like I don't remember ever feel like, oh, this is a lot, like graphic wise. Then we get to this first episode of this season, and that girl at the end of the episode, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Where did that come from? And like that just set the tone for the entirety of the season. Like all as much as this is a character who was brand new to us, and like you just killed off like a character who like we're supposed to care about, and I did, but like I know we've talked about those kind of complaints. What the way that she died though set the tone for the entirety of the series and made it way like made the stakes they raised them quite a bit with that.
Yeah, and again, I think the Eddie Munson satanic panic kind of it all. I thought that was really worked in well, and incorporating these kind of pop culture moments from the 80s, I think has been really seamless in weaving that in and out.
Yeah,
a lot of things that I think we can go on about what will age the best. I think those were a few of the top hitters here, but you touched on some of the things and what will age the worst. And just right off the bat, you mentioned the Russia stuff again. Anytime I felt like they were moving outside of Hawkins, they were straying away from the story. The Russia stuff took a long time to materialize to anything good with that, kind of like a battle between the Demigorgon in that Rome-like, Colosseum-like battlefield, right? Or battle arena, I guess it's called. Battle prison, I don't know. But yeah, all that stuff, I thought it took a very long time to materialize. I could do without it.
That's fine. I'm not honestly. I could have done without it too. I think when you look at we have 4 different groups, right? We have 11 off doing her thing with all the scientists. We have Russia, we have Hawkins, and then we have Mike and company. Yeah. I know Argyle was a great addition, but outside of that group was the absolute worst. I would put them at 4, Russia at 3, 11's whole thing at 2, and then Hawkins at number 1.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And again, I loved Argyle. I thought he was a great new addition, but I think it also speaks to how lame that rest of the group was, that they had to come up with this like really goofy, over the top character type person to kind of like balance that out a little bit. But again, the Russia stuff also stems from, they should have just killed off Hopper at the end of season 3 anyway, with that stinger bringing him back. I don't know exactly what the Russians have to do with the Demigorgon, what they have to do with Vecna. And overall, I think that's going to play out over the last 2 episodes there. But maybe you could write around that and then trim out a good portion of time in the process. I don't know.
It's confusing. Like the Russia stuff is definitely confusing. I think for me, where I am willing to forgive it more than I am the stuff with Mike, is just I felt like there was a little bit more comedy kind of mixed in with that. And I do think Hopper, like I think David Harbour is obviously a very good actor. So I think that was a little bit of it. And also like for me, will age the worst. I know you're with me that this is an option. This is my number 1. It's the Will, Mike, John team up. Like, and Mike stinks, man. I can't stand Mike.
Yeah, I mean, again, we were mentioning this in the chat here about Finn Wolfhard having like a really an all-time name and a real loser of a body. I mean, he portrays the kind of like nerdy type of early high school kid really well. I feel like he would have shined in like a show like Freaks and Geeks, where he kind of represents that perfect like high school awkwardness, maybe physically and just outwardly. But other than that, like I have no purpose for him. I think Will, if he's not the victim, he's not doing anything else here. He's not really bringing much else to the table. Jonathan is really in just a stoned out cloud of smoke days, so he's not really doing a whole lot here either. So I agree with you. That was definitely, I don't need all that. The Argyle stuff, especially with the Mormon sister.
Oh no, I think you froze on me. Oh boy. Can't tell who froze on who.
It's probably me. I think I'm back.
It looked like you did. I have the stream in front of me, but I can't quite tell. Either way, so I missed that last bit of what you were saying, but with regards to the Will, Mike, and Jonathan stuff, Jonathan to me has always been kind of like, all right, whatever. Mike, to go back to what you're saying, like he's playing this mean dude, and I get it, you're mean, but it just doesn't like. For me, it doesn't hit me in the right spot. I don't understand it. I understand being socially awkward and all that, but he's just such a dick and so like has no idea what's going on. Maybe that's like the realest, makes him the realest kid of them all. But I don't know. I don't got much time for him. And Will, I do think you raise a point where, like, if he's not the victim, I think that's a character who, like, they've tried to, like, ever since that, they've tried to do too much with him, because I can understand there being trauma there with him, but I just don't think that's been conveyed well enough to this point. Like,
Yeah,
what
and
that
it's
is.
weird because I think the complaint through the first 3 seasons was that he was always the victim and there was no other real character development, but they just don't seem to know how to develop him outside of that victim, or like it's just not interesting enough. So that's a little disappointing there. But kind of tying it back to the Russia point, Hopper's ability to walk off what I would imagine to be a broken ankle. Like that whole, because it's very cringeworthy. It's very well done because you kind of feel it when he's trying to get the chain or off his foot, when he has the big Russian guy kind of hit his foot to kind of break off. I don't know, was break off one of the chains or something like that to get his whole plan of escaping off the ground. But there's a level of disability, disbelief there that I can't suspend. When he's just walking normally, going through the harsh winters of Serbia, Russia, whatever, wherever he is, and just like acting fine, like canvassing through the Russian winter forests with no problem at all.
Yeah, honestly, Wes, like, I think I cared, like, I was willing to just move on from, like, with Russia. I'm even kind of blanking on some of that stuff, so I can't, like, I can't really add much either way.
That one was a little bit there, and then the last one was Jason Carver, our main man, Jason Carver's speech at the town hall, overruling the cops. This is like a classic trope, and I think it's funny, interesting that they put it in here because they play on all these like classic movie tropes from the 80s and 90s and that sort of thing, right? But when you have like the star athlete or like the popular. Oh man, this has been a day.
I don't know if you froze on me or because I'm trying to watch the stream as you're doing that to figure it out.
It
looks like
really disappointing.
It looks like it's the connection between us, but so I think it came through. Nope, you froze, but I can't tell. Anyways, so I actually so you didn't like the character, or it was just that moment that you didn't think it was.
Oh no, I like the character, but again, it's just the fact that he's like having this big rah speech when you have like the most popular kid in high school who suddenly just has like influence outside of the high school over the town. That like, in what world is some 17-year-old high school kid giving that speech in a town hall, and then every adult in the room is like, this little twerp is right, And it's again those like type of like cheesy movie moments that were in here that I thought was funny, but it's just dumb. This is a dumb moment.
See, in general, so I hear what you're saying about the parents listening, but the kid thinking that he'd do that, obviously that does make sense.
What kid would do that?
A kid who's delusional and thinks he has all the power in the world. A high school kid who's the most popular kid in school, you don't think they have the most power in the world? Think that they have that?
No, but I just don't know. Like, I don't know, the most popular kid. Think of the most popular kid in your high school when you were there. Whether you were a freshman and that was a senior or whatever point in time. And do you ever imagine that the most popular kid would be, what we have to do? We have to go to town hall and we're going to get these parents to listen to me. And they're all going to follow me. And we're going to figure this out together.
I mean, we're looking at a very ridiculous scenario, obviously.
That's what I mean. But I'm just like, this is a ridiculous scenario. Yes.
I mean, well, because I know we had kids speak at like public like town hall meetings like in high school. Like we did that because we were going to like lose stuff like from our school because of budget cuts and shit like that. So like that's what I mean. Like it's not the same degree, obviously, but like that's just
all right. Nick, what else do you got here?
My point though is that I can see the character doing that, and because he's so ridiculous, and I really enjoyed. I hated the character, but like I thought it was very well done. But I don't have anything else for what will age the worst because I agree with some.
All right, what's your favorite episode from the series then?
I'm with you on this one. The Massacre at Hawkins Lab. I think that it got better. I know the grades, we didn't go through them all, but like it increased until episode 4, then it dipped back down for the next few until we got to 7. And I think that, but I still think that I felt it got better every episode. So number 7 was mine.
Yeah, I thought it kind of built, and again, just the way that I kind of watched the last 3 or 4 episodes, it all just kind of bled together for me. So I'm like looking back, the memories, I'm like, I don't know when one ended and when the others. Just kind of by default, I'm going with the last episode. That was like 98 minutes, so there was a lot in there. Again, you get that number one Vecna kind of origin story in there. You get the Hawkins group kind of figuring out the upside down and kind of talking through the upside down through the light brights and all that kind of stuff. So, everything's kind of building to where we're at right now. It's a good kind of cliffhanger. And for 90 minutes or so, that better be a good episode.
So I'm curious, did you, and this may be a dumb question after you're saying things are blending together on you, can you remember generally when you started to think like number 1 was actually number 1?
When he first introduced him.
Oh, okay. I did not.
The first one where he's like, yeah, I remember someone like that myself, and he was just too weird and creepy and like.
Well, I did suspect that
he was like not not well conditioned with the rest of the general public. He didn't like associate with other people well. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
no, that's fair.
Didn't interact with them well.
When he said that, like you remembered someone just like you, I was like, okay, he was one of these kids, and then something happened. I didn't realize he was number 1. I don't know exactly when, but it was not that soon in the process. But yeah.
And I was thrown off here too with the numbering order. So like, when did these things happen? Because if number 1 was there and they started making all of these other copies, other types, prototypes, number 2 would be shortly followed after, right? And they seem like there's a big gap between them. Like they don't really know each other.
Well, I mean, they could take a long time to perfect whatever they injected these kids with, I guess. But I don't know. I thought you were going to say, why don't they make him number 0, and then after that they have number 1.
Well, yeah, I don't know how that.
It's not important.
That's like, is that like a birthday thing? Like when you're born, you're 0, and then you wait a year till you're 1.
When you said you were confused with the numbers, I thought that's where you were going with.
Well, it just makes it, because I could have sworn he references his time being there, and then they like started mass producing when he's like talking about his origin story. They started making everyone else. So I would think they would be in some. I don't know. It's pick and knit.
No, but I hear what you're saying. I do when you start bringing in, he brought up his origin there and everything like that. But anyways, yes, we're in lockstep on the massacre at Hawkins Lab. What is the next question we got?
What's your favorite piece of 80s or maybe early 90s nostalgia from this series?
So I got to say the Satanic Panic stuff because I feel like I'd heard about it again recently for some other reason. But I didn't know Dungeons and Dragons was like actually a part of all of that,
Oh yeah.
nonsense. I had no idea that was actually a thing. Like that people play Dungeons and Dragons were like satanic worshipers.
Well, all of these games, all of the names of the villains are characters from the games. The Vecna, the Mind Flayer, like all those things, right? The Demigorgons. So like there's pretty demonic characters that are in the game. So if you have like a boomer parent who's just used to going to church on Sunday, seeing that sort of, they're like, oh my dear.
Yep.
And you have Ozzy Osbourne ripping bats off stage during concerts and stuff. And
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. But the other thing,
6-inch tongue, Gene Simmons. It's wild times.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. But I can't even remember the song off the top of my head, but I know it was by Kate Bush. The song that brought Max back from
Running Up the Hill or something like that.
Yeah, but either way, when like that got a huge bump on like iTunes or the billboards or whatever, something like that after the fact. Like it climbed into the top 100 or maybe even higher, something to that end because of the show. So I thought that was.
I hope she got some residuals. Hope she got a little paper lining her pockets now after that.
One would hope.
I like the classic Coke reference. That was very clear in there. And a few, I think that was in during the interrogation scenes, some of the interrogation scenes. Nice classic Coke there. Of course, going back from new Coke to old Coke. All the VHS tapes in Dr. Brenner's Papa's office there. It's a nice little throwback. A whole room just filled wall to wall with VHS tapes. Don't see, like, imagine that. Like, even DVDs. Like, you don't have to fill up a whole room with DVDs anymore. You know what I mean? Not that anyone owns anything, but even when they were popular. Very, very archaic equipment there, VHS tapes. the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, kind of late '80s horror stoner movies that they're kind of adopting certain tropes from in here. I appreciate that. The California pizza guy, Argyle, stoner
Argyle was a great
strippers.
ad.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. They added some awesome. They did add two, actually no, three, because Vecna, three awesome characters to this season.
Yes, and the jock prep stereotype. I mean, you mentioned we already talked about our guy James here before, but again kind of playing on that early '80s, like very super preppy jock stereotype. Like that's good.
He sucked, but at the same time, like what was the actor's name? I wrote it down somewhere. Mason Dye did a very good job with it, but yeah, that kid sucked.
Oh yeah, but yeah, he did a good job because you hate him though. Yeah, absolutely.
Love to hate that character. My God.
All right, but who was your favorite character from the original cast?
Well, you mentioned how Steve and Dustin are awesome earlier, and they're still awesome, and I'm there with you. I don't know who to pick between them two, but I also really like Nance a lot too. I've enjoyed that character and her development over the course of the show, but I think I got to go with Dustin. I think he's got to be my pick, but Steve really is. Steve's gotten better and better. Their dynamic is just amazing.
Yeah, Steve. I like the Nance pick too, although she feels like she got younger somehow while everyone else got older. I don't know. Maybe that was just me there. But again, I thought Dustin was the best, maybe because he's the only one who kind of keeps that like childlike wonder. Everyone else kind of aged up. He's got those like chubby cheeks that kind of remind you of a little child still.
Mm-hmm.
What aged the worst is probably just the cast in general. We forgot that. That was a big oversight in general. They just aged generally.
If I told you, okay, so Dustin is 19 years old, by the way, now in the show. I'm sure the other kids are in a similar age range. Natalia Dyer, who plays Nance, what would you guess her age is? I have in front of me.
22.
27.
Wow.
She's 3.5 years younger than me. That is crazy.
Yeah, she looks like she got younger. So I was surprised by that. But Steve, I love Steve. I think he's probably had the most fleshed out character arc, maybe along with Nancy, with the younger group of people. But when you're talking about like David Harbour or even Winona Ryder's character, like they're fine, but they're just kind of hitting the checkpoints of their former character. There's not a whole lot of growth there. They're just kind of doing the thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at all these ages, man, and it's like Lucas and Max are both 20 years old. Finn is 19. I'm kind of surprised. Like, the youngest one, it seems like, is Will. He's 17. Steve is my age. I'm just stunned at these younger ones, though. It's like, dude, you guys are tiny.
Yeah. That's good. That's nice because again, so often you get the 90210 Hollywood or a high school theme where everyone's like 30 years old. But if these are actually like right around the age, that's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's just weird. How do you look that young at that age? But anyways, what are we on to now? What's been your least favorite storyline?
Yeah. Again, we talked about the Russia stuff enough already, but that's certainly on there. But all the high school melodrama stuff early on, I don't really care. Get me to the thriller, sci-fi, horror kind of storyline of it all. But the high school melodrama stuff, like very John Hughesy, which is cool. I love the backdrops of the settings and like the roller rinks and the high school. It all seemed really, really legitimate. They poured in like $30 million an episode I was reading. So, got to go somewhere. So the backdrops are certainly great, but yeah, didn't really care for that.
So I like all the stuff that the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Anything that had to do with Eddie Munson, I was totally cool with. So I do like some of the high school stuff, but Mike and Eleven's love story, I'm just so.
That's what I mean, like the melodrama. Like okay. I don't want that
specifically. Yeah. And I guess the Jonathan and Nance stuff. I mean, I could kind of do it without, but whatever. Like it's fine. It doesn't bother me near as much as Mike and 11. That stuff's just, dude, stop, please.
Yeah, the whole fight between them, like Millie Bobby Brown. Like I'm not sure if she's supposed to be. I haven't really seen her act all that much outside of this. I think she was in one of the Godzilla movies.
I think so, yeah.
Didn't really get a whole lot out of her there either. She seems very stiff when she's acting. So does Finn Wolfhard. So when they were trying to have like an emotional fight where she wasn't just like bleeding out of her nose and twisting her hand, like it felt very awkward. She's like, you never say it. From Mike, from Mike, from Mike. You know, and they're just going back and forth. And it's just very awkward, which I guess, again, would be like a teenage first fight among a relationship. Like it is all awkward, right? That whole time period's awkward.
I agree, and that's why. And with 11, I'm fine with it because of the character's entire background. But when it comes to Mike, as much as I'm fine with some awkwardness, I don't get him. Like it just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like it doesn't. He doesn't need to be exactly what I expect a teenager to be. It just doesn't. He doesn't fit. So I don't. He's the problem for me in all that one. But
he doesn't seem like he would be the leader of a group.
You're right. He is the leader of that group.
I mean, he is, right? He's like kind of like the lead friend of the group, or at least started out as that way, right?
Yeah, Dustin's the guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. How about the best performance by a side character? You mentioned Eddie Munson this whole time.
He is my guy. I love Eddie Munson. Like I don't know about you. Like for me, like there's definitely guys like from that era specifically, but there are definitely guys like I went to school with that he reminds me of a little bit. Like they kind of act like they're intimidating and tough, but really in reality they're kind of just like annoying little shits. Where they like once the fighting actually starts, they're really not going to get their hands dirty. But yeah, so like Eddie Munson for me, my favorite character. But he's my favorite character in this season outside of maybe the three that I mentioned before. I think he's like even then he might have been my favorite. But Argyle was a funny addition, and Jason Carver was annoying as shit, but very well done.
Yeah, and I liked what you said about Eddie Munson, was that he kind of played everything perfect, where he was kind of that tough guy, but he had some heart, and you could know that he was kind of scared, maybe not weak, but kind of scared. Didn't have as much confidence or bravado as he kind of came off with, but I kind of like it. He kind of reminds me of like that Randall Pink Floyd type from Dazed and Confused, where he's kind of like a reluctant kind of, I don't know. He could be. He doesn't have to be the. What am I trying to say? Like the nerd, the dropout type, but not the nerd, but like he's kind of playing that loser, the burnout. Thank you. But he kind of he's got the personality. He kind of can cross over. He kind of becomes friends with Steve, and they kind of have that cool heart to heart at the end. So I don't know. I liked him a lot. I thought he showed a couple of different shades of him. Argyle was great. Didn't need to see any other types of shades of him. Also, Erica Sinclair. I thought she comes back with a great performance as with Lucas's younger sister, who comes in with all that sass and kind of sniffing out all the bullshit right away. She kind of gets right into it. So I thought she kind of plays off that group very well. Yeah, and plays off the dumb parents very well, who are just dumber than ever.
She is awesome. That's a great call. Yeah, very underrated character in all this, for me at least.
Yeah, and Murray was offered a nice, a little silver lining to all that Russia stuff.
Yeah, Murray was good.
He's a character. He's fun. He's good. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I know we've seen him in a few other things. There's one thing specifically that I'm thinking of that I can like. I know Murray from outside of Stranger Things. Do you remember him from anything else?
No, he's kind of like that guy for me. That like I know him from movies, but I can't put my name on or his name on it.
So okay, let me see if I can do the lines. If you can recognize it. I know with the beards you might think I'm all hair under here, but nope, shaved. Nothing.
Oh.
You're gonna be a little annoyed when
I know the line. I know. I just can't picture the movie.
He was saying it to Mark Wahlberg. The movie.
Is it the other guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He's married to Christina. Come back and make love to my wife.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Every time I see him, I think of that.
That's really fun. That's good.
All right, what do we got now?
Who's lost the series so far?
Oh, Mike.
Right, Mike and Will. Again, Will's kind of useless. Lucas kind of takes a little bit of an L here. He's kind of torn back and forth. Doesn't really know where to find himself in. He's an athlete, but he's also kind of a nerd dork. So he's got to figure himself out, and he's kind of caught in limbo here. The basketball team just losing girlfriends, losing members.
Oh yeah, that's true. They won the game, but they lost the war.
Yes.
But I firmly believe it is Mike over Will. Like I understand Lucas is going through a dilemma. Again, in the end, he's going to be like, I can be both. Why can't I be both? But
Yeah.
with Mike, I'm sorry, with Will, that character, I do, as much as the acting necessarily hasn't been all that great, I do think some of the writing has been poor in that sense too. I think this is a complicated character that they just haven't fleshed out as well as they necessarily could have. Just because I think he's gone through so much trauma, you could have done a lot with him, and they really haven't figured out what the hell they want to do with him. And Mike, on the other hand, he just stinks.
Yeah, and Mike is the leader too. So if he's supposed to be like the main character, and I know maybe he wasn't billed as that, maybe that's Millie Bobby Brown, maybe that's Gaten Barentazzo, Dustin there, who kind of end up becoming the faces of the franchise. But Mike was the leader of the group. So I think to see his de-evolution down from season 1 to season 4 is pretty interesting. But you mentioned just on Will real quick, not really knowing what to do with the character and stuff. Like, is he gay? Is he not gay? Like, why not? Again, that ambiguity around the character. Like, maybe that's interesting. Leave it up to the audience to decide. But again, just write it in one way or the other.
Okay, and had you had suspicion of that prior to the season?
Yeah. Well, he's always like, a little bit more soft spoken and sensitive and stuff. Okay, so that was like,
all right, because I'd never heard. I heard that this season too, but I never heard that before. But yeah, I mean, like, again, like
maybe that's just the actor. I don't know. Like maybe that's just how the actor is.
Yeah, there's some of it with the actor for sure, but there's some of it with, speaking of like bad acting, I can't wait to tell you about Discharge Depot, some of the bad acting I saw. But let's move over to a positive. Who won the series so far?
It's Dustin and Steve. That's it. That's sign me up for the Dustin Steve spin-off buddy cop duo. They go off to college, 23 Jump Street, whatever. I'm here for it.
I think that'd be a great call. Those two actors need to do some more shit together for sure. I don't think it's even close. Like, those guys have absolutely won the series, and they hopefully, I'm sure Steve will get other roles moving forward. I know Dustin's going through that like awkward phase that you talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that won't matter, because they're both outstanding actors.
But Nancy's great too. I want to give some love to Nancy, because she gets a lot of growth here too. Kind of developing stuff on her own. Knowing that she doesn't need someone out there to protect her, she can kind of handle her own shit. And Hopper's stoicism, brief honorable mention there, doesn't really say a whole lot up in Russia. He just kind of takes all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he's just quiet through it all.
So I think
broken ankle, just running through the woods, like just getting wrongly jailed in Russia.
His little speech that he gives at the dinner table before the battle with the Demigorgon was actually pretty awesome.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, for all the issues that we had with Russia, like I understand, like, I feel like it was more the writing around the plot versus like some of the actual acting. Cause I think Hopper did do a good job throughout all this.
Yeah. He's not given much to work with. Again, like, he should just be dead. Just die. I say that with love.
I tend to agree with you on that one. But anyways, we have one last question here, since this is kind of like more like a midterm. On a scale of 1 to 10, Wes, how excited are you for the finale?
Yeah, again, I'm a 7 or 8, and I'm sure coming out of it, I'll love it. I'm sure it'll probably be higher after that. But again, it's the time, it's the length of this thing that is just wearing me down. Like one of these is supposed to be like 2.5 hours long. Like one of them. So I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's the entirety. They're just releasing it over 2 chapters. I don't know how they're going to break it up, but
I'm at a 9. But at the same time, I do think that's fair. Like, you're going to do that much in these last few episodes. Kind of surprising. But
how much more do you have left to tell? Like, that's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, I hear you. My thing is more, I think they have stuff to tell. How much more do they have to tell that we're actually going to give a shit about? We'll care about all the Hopkins stuff, but what's going to happen with all the Russia stuff? So I don't know. But actually, I do have one other question for you. Are you going to want to do an episode? Are you going to want to wait and see, to, like, if we actually like it, if you feel strongly about it for these last 2 episodes?
We'll give a wait and see. I think tentatively we can put it on there, because I've liked everything about this so far. And there's clearly going to be enough, at least in length, I don't know about content, to discuss for its own episode. So we're on the summer schedule here, so
Yep.
I think we're open to any ideas on the table.
Either way, we're gonna have to update our score by the end of it all because right now, we're giving it,
Yes,
1987, but we got to see the entire season before that is final.
that's a good point. That
So,
is a good point
so
here.
maybe we call the next episode, and since we're doing this as the exit survey, we can call that season 4 final exam.
Oh, this isn't going up on the audio only. Maybe I could just change it on the audio form.
We'll do that.
Midterm exam. Yeah, maybe.
I think we'll. I like that more personally.
But I like the final exam. Maybe we can work that in there somehow.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Either way, it's school. We're dealing with kids. It makes a lot of sense. But enough about that. We'll get back to that when the season finale comes around. It's time for us to turn into the Discharge Depot.
Yes, all aboard! Honk honk.
Okay, I have something I want to rip about first, but I have a few things. So why don't you lead us off with what you wanted to touch on?
Yes, well, Barry season 3 just finished that up last night. Terrific season of television. If I highly recommend that whole series, let alone that season in particular, if you're all caught up. But that aside, Kenny Shane, if you like the guy who does our intro music, it's a good friend of mine. His new album, Playoff Season, is out now. It's available on Apple Music, Spotify, DatPiff, WorldStar, anywhere. Any SoundCloud, MySpace, any of that type of stuff, right? But I say this with an asterisk here because he is a huge Yankee fan. He grew up just outside of the Bronx, White Plains, New York, probably right around that area. Huge Yankee fan. It is entirely dripping in Yankee propaganda.
Oh,
first intro of the song tells me, a Red Sox, not me specifically, but me as a Red Sox fan, to kill myself. So it's coming, shots fired right off the top. But that aside, it's a grown man album. It's just grown man hip hop. It's very soulful, and I'm a big fan of that type of work.
Okay.
So Kenny Shane's Playoff Season, check it out.
Nice. Real quick to circle back to Barry, I think we touched on this a while back, like when it first came back and first returned. Because was it weird for you at all? Like, because there was a long ass break from season 2 to season 3, right?
Yeah, but surprisingly, as I was watching this kind of concurrently with Stranger Things, I had an easier time picking up where Barry left off than where Stranger Things left off. If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I don't know Barry at all, and I know Stranger Things has a lot to remember. So
yeah,
I could see how.
But there was a lot to kind of go back. But again, shorter episodes to consume, and the previously on does a good job of kind of getting you a recap to what you need to know.
Nice.
What do you got?
So start off positively. I went to the second day of the U.S. Open. That was
awesome. Saw that pick.
So much fun. And I think it's pretty well documented that I'm not the biggest fan of playing golf. I do enjoy watching it more so. Live event. Maybe it's because it's the first time I've been to a sporting event as a fan and not a media member in a long time, but I had an absolute blast at this thing. I would definitely go to another live golf event, just one day of it, but I definitely do that again sometime.
Now, what was your strategy? Were you following one person? Did you park down at a certain point in the course?
So we ended up bouncing around a little bit. My thing was like, it's my dad ended up getting tickets from some people that he does work with, and he was going on Sunday too. So he ended up going with my brother. Okay. So I wanted him to.
So you got the good day, huh?
Well, he got the final day. Either way,
weather-wise, though.
Oh, was it bad? I guess so. Yeah, I didn't
on Sunday, right? Yeah.
I was in Connecticut for a lot of the day, so I didn't. So that's why. But I'll take your word for that. For Friday, yeah, it was really nice out. But I wanted him to kind of just see all the guys he wanted to see, get a feel for it, because it was overwhelming for him. It's like the first time he's done this. I know he's played at the course before, but it's just a lot. So we saw a bit of Phil early on. It just kind of worked out that way. So that was kind of funny. But then we wanted to get to like Brooks and Scheffler. They were playing together, so we followed them for a bit. Then he was able to see like DeChambeau was in a group with I think Justin Rose. Fleetwood was in a group too. So they were all like in one row. So we kind of at one point tried to follow Brooks and then watch those guys behind him. But we spent a lot of time at 18. Caught a little bit of Rory because I did have to leave because I had actually previously committed to go to a Hartford Yard Goats game. So I had both of those.
Interesting.
Yes. So
On the same day?
on the same day. Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
that's an all-time sports day for you, Mr. Fryer.
Dude, I couldn't believe the turnout at the Hartford Yard game. Like, there were a lot of people there. It was
Well, there's not a lot of professional sports in Connecticut, right? I mean,
I
that's like,
don't know if there are any outside of that one. I mean, you do have the
yeah,
Travelers Championship coming there this upcoming weekend, but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really it. But
I had to look up what a yard goat was because I really hate that name.
you hate it.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's a weird one, that's for sure. But they have a ton of weird names in minor league baseball, as you well know.
yeah, I know. This one's supposed to be referencing something to do with it's like a rail yard terminology.
Oh,
Apparently, the stadium's right next to like railroad tracks or something like that.
it is. Yes, I will
Yeah,
say Hartford, not my favorite city.
no, tough city.
Yeah, I think I've been there. Last time I went there was a Luke Bryan concert, and I enjoyed that. Definitely had fun at that. But whew, not my
You
favorite
know,
city
it's
anymore.
kind of like, and I hope you don't find this offensive, but it's like, who goes to Massachusetts to visit Fall River or New Bedford? You know, I kind of feel like Hartford's bigger, obviously, right? That's the state capital, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure state capital.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Again, but like, I have no reason just to go to Hartford.
right. I couldn't. The only reason you like, if you're from out of state, the only reason that, or like, I'm sorry, like outside of New England, the only reason you come to Fall River is for the Lizzie Borden house. And even then, is that enough of a reason to come to Fall
Right?
River?
Yeah, yeah. That's real niche.
Yeah. Well, mentioned it to somebody when I was in Connecticut. Like, they asked where I was from, and I said I live in Fall River. And I was like, "Do you know Lizzie Borden?" Like, you're like, "Oh yeah, 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 I know that." But there's some
Hmm.
people who do, some who don't. I don't know. Anyways, it is niche. Like our guy, our former resident guy in the chair, Tim Weisberg. But anyways, the real thing I wanted to share with you was I finally watched M. Night Shyamalan's Old. You remember the trailer for this, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think
Yes,
it's on HBO Max now.
it is on HBO Max.
Hmm.
Now that's where we watched it. Have you seen it yet?
No, no. I've come close to clicking it a couple times, but I haven't.
Okay, it's not good.
Okay, good. All right.
So it's the premise is interesting, like like this the island and everything. And they go into it like, why are these people aging? And it's not just the kids, it's everybody. And there's a lot going on. And like the twist in the end is interesting. Don't get me wrong, like the bones of this are. But Wes, like the acting in this is so bad. I was blown away at how awful the acting is in this thing. You get
Mm,
this guy who's playing a nurse, and I'm watching it thinking to myself, have you ever acted before? Like, it is that bad. Like, he is so,
okay.
you're talking about stiff with the kids from Stranger Things. This dude is like a brick wall. Like, he ain't moving. It is terrible. That guy's wife, eh. There's like, honestly, there are there's maybe one actor consistently throughout all of it that does a good job. And he's a guy who I've seen before. He kind of looks like Joaquin Phoenix. I've
Okay.
seen him in other can't place him though. But man, like it's just like everybody gets really stiff. The delivery of their lines are terrible. Some of the writing is also just bad. But oh my god, it was. I've never seen anything like it before. In that
Okay.
regard,
Solid review. Go see Old.
it is I would probably say a 2, but I could give it a 20 on
20.
our system. Like
Wow. That's
the
bold.
bones, it's all on the bones. Like, that's it. Like,
Okay.
and the bones aren't their money in this one either, so it doesn't really play all
They
that well.
sound brittle. They sound like you could use a glass of milk or something. Calcium deficient.
You know what? That actually is a thing in the course of the movie, and it's so fucked up to have.
Is that the twist? Did I just get the twist?
No, you didn't get the twist. No,
They're like
well,
lactose intolerant.
you kind of knocked on the door of the twist a little bit. I'll explain it to you a little bit more off air.
Okay.
But if you guys want to watch something that's really, really poorly done, it would be this. Like, it's disjointed too when it comes to the plot. Like, so that's why I say bones only. But anyways,
You just gotta drop the almond milk and go to something like 1%, 2%,
it's a
raw
good call.
milk, even unpasteurized.
I will say, if you for some reason do decide to torture yourself and watch it, Wes, I would be happy to do an episode on it and here so we could rip this thing because it was fucking poorly done.
I don't think with all the other good things that I want to watch that I
Mhm.
have a backlog of, I'm not sure if I can fit in an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I don't blame you, but I'm just saying, if that day ever comes where you get tempted, just know I'm going to be right there ready for you.
All right, I'll let you know. I'll keep you on speed dial when the moment comes.
Thank you very much. Until then, it is time for
This Week Indoors.
Shared Universe.
So from hashtag Dork, actually, you mentioned Barry season 3. They are going to be doing that on this week's
Oh,
episode
exciting.
of the
Awesome.
show. I think Mac and Goo is doing Stranger Things like we did. I'm
Okay.
not certain.
All
They're definitely
right.
doing a news dump. We know that.
Mhm.
PCP, People for Communism podcast, actually did a much lighter episode than their normal topics. They did top 11 summer songs, which
Oh,
apparently they've
this
done.
summer, or this wasn't a re-release? I haven't listened because I thought it was a re-release of last year.
It's definitely not a re-release of last year. I think it was like revisiting the subject.
I see. Because my question, because now I can't seem to recall if the previous one was just top 11 summer songs in general or of the year in our Lord 2021. But it sounds like it was in the year of our Lord 2021, and this episode would be year of
Right.
our Lord 2022.
Yeah, I can't speak to it because, excuse me, I haven't listened to it yet, but yeah.
No, I've unsubscribed.
I'm on principle.
Yeah.
Uh,
The ruble's going up. I can't support communism.
yeah, of course.
Not with these gas prices.
Well, for TLDR this week, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing a mainland episode. Haven't done one of those in a long time because we've had a lot of guests on. Of course, we do our monthly solicits. I'm going to be doing an image book this week, another Brubaker and Sean Phillips book. Joe is either going to be doing a boom book or another image book as well. Speaking of Joe, I've heard it both ways. Him and Billy, they're going to be doing season 4, episode 13 of Psych this week. And then as for the streamers, you can find Joe on Twitch at Backracker. You can find Shime at Shime Time on Twitch. And then Davey and Rich are over on the hashtag Dork YouTube page. That is where yes, Keith. That is where they do their streaming over on the YouTube page.
Yes, of course.
Rich, did I say that? Oops, my
Yeah,
mistake.
and you don't hear it that often, It's just last name type of guy.
Yeah. Well, you're right. My bad. That's shame on me. I apologize. But we're doing Rewatch Vault next week, right?
Yes, we are doing Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Maybe shortly after Thor: Love and Thunder, we could be hitting. Maybe after the Miss Marvel exit survey. We'll get to the end of the MCU Rewatch Vault there. But you're going to be having a lot of fun. So we're doing this one here because you've got big things coming up this week.
Yes.
But I don't want to take away your Discharge Depot for next week.
You are a saint on multiple levels. So I thank you very much. I appreciate it. We still will be at the same bat time, same bat place next week, though.
Of course, as always.